Hi, Josh.
Hi, Lee.
We're about halfway through the journey for justice. Give us an update, if you would.
Well, yesterday we went back to Tornillo and celebrate, I guess, or commemorate or remember um, the vigil that we held there, the vigil that started, with me getting an RV and camping out in front of the entrance to that place when it was a children's prison. Um, and it was a moving experience to be back there. The authorities didn't seem to mind our presence too much. They watched us closely, but didn't interfere while we had a candlelight vigil there. And also we took a walk around the entire port of entry underneath the bridge. And I showed people where I went and what I saw. There were actually a number of people there who were themselves at Tornillo. So it was very moving for them as well. And I think for everybody
You
who was
say
there.
you say people who were there. You mean people who had been locked up in the facility?
No. I mean,
Oh,
people
okay.
who came to the vigil.
Okay.
Um, so I think it was quite moving for everybody. The sun went down, we held candles, and we made our way off. Our ragged band of cars, flags a waving, and made our way into El Paso, where we all got a night's sleep. And today, most of us got up with the idea that we were going to go over to Juarez, see what it felt like to cross the bridge, and that's just what happened. But I was kind of lucky. I got taken over by a reporter for the NBC affiliate down here who wanted to interview me. And he took me to the place where Venezuelan migrants had been camping. Remember, Venezuelan migrants are kind of caught in this Title 42 bind where at first they couldn't be expelled. And then so Venezuelans naturally came into the country and were allowed to stay. But then a new deal, the deal changed on Title 42, and Venezuelans now are restricted from coming in. Most of them that come to the border are not allowed to come in at all. So they had built a camp, and I'm trying to bring you up to date here. They built a camp, but then the Mexican authorities came along on that opposite bank of the river, and destroyed the camp. Well, where that camp was, I went today, and there were some men standing around who, by talking to them, we determined that they were in fact Venezuelan, and they wanted to tell us their stories. And while they told us their stories about coming up, about 3 months on the road, about their time in the Darien Gap, and about coming to the border and trying to cross a number of times, riding La Bestia up from Central America. While we were hearing that story, and I'll tell you a little more of that story in a moment, we were watching on the opposite bank of the river, the American side, but on the Mexican side of the fence. And there were a whole bunch of people, 30, 40 people lined up and waiting to climb up the slope and be checked in and driven off by Customs and Border Protection. So there they were. They had crossed the river, and they were waiting their turn quite patiently. There were a lot of clothes and things left on the bank, and we all watched while I heard the rest of the story, which was that on La Bestia, this young man who had himself been injured jumping onto the train there with his family, told the story of a 2-year-old who, in the middle of nowhere between Torreon and Juarez, he saw a mother with a 2-year-old who was there. The 2-year-old sickened and died. And over the sound of the train, the mother wailed loud enough for everybody to hear. She wouldn't let go of the baby. And she held on to the baby long after it had died through the desert, because there was nothing on either side. There was nothing that could be done. Nobody could reach this woman who was riding on top of the train.
When you were at the where the camp used to be, was there any signs that there had been a camp there, or has it all been swept clean?
It looks pretty clean. It looks like they scraped it probably with a bulldozer. It's pretty clean there. I've been there before, that spot, and in the past, and it looked like it looked before there was a camp there. It looked the same.
The man who told you the story about the 2-year-old, did you get any sense from him or from anyone else whether this was an unusual story or whether this is a not that extraordinary story?
I think, I didn't really get the impression from him, but I've gotten the impression from talking to other people who've been involved with La Bestia, with that train, and the dangers involved in it. You have to run to catch it, you have to grab it, and you have to pull yourself up. He pulled up his shirt and he showed me where he was bruised and abraded from that experience. It's easy, in other words, to get hurt. Hard not to.
And looking at the migrants from the Mexican side as they patiently waited to be taken into custody, how did that feel compared to the experience of being on our side and watching the folks?
I'm tempted to quote Woody Guthrie, on both sides of the river, they die just the same. I didn't feel any different.
You got one more week of traveling along the border, Josh. Good luck to you.
I hope I make it.
I'm sure you'll make it. And you may have some new people joining you along the way.
They're already accumulating here in El Paso. They're all over the streets. Everywhere I go this morning, I run into them.
Thanks for checking in with us, Josh. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Lee.